The race to the White House, the presidential election, is now just 12 days away, with both candidates campaigning in battleground states.
Time is running out. This as former President Donald Trump is facing new criticism from his former chief of staff. Good Day's Briella Tomassetti joins us with all these new details. Briella, what's happening?
Yeah, Dan and Tashani, a lot to break down. John Kelly has been a fierce critic of Donald Trump since leaving the White House, and he is the source of several other negative stories about the former president, including the controversial claim that Trump called veterans suckers. Trump's longest-serving chief of staff said the former president praised Adolf Hitler while in office and put personal loyalty above the Constitution.
Certainly, the former president is in the far-right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
With just 12 days until the election, Donald Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, John Kelly, has gone on the record with bombshell remarks about his former boss. In interviews with the New York Times and The Atlantic, the retired Marine Corps general who worked in the White House from 2017 to 2019 called Trump a fascist and said he made admiring statements about Hitler. He also claimed that Trump, while in office, suggested that Hitler, quote, did some good things.
It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is.
Vice President Kamala Harris and the White House seized on those comments, warning voters that the former president is unhinged and unstable and unfit to serve. Harris responded, quote, yes, I do, when she was asked if she believes Trump is a fascist. Yesterday, Harris stopped by the famous 4th Street Deli in Philadelphia for a campaign volunteer appreciation event. She also spent time in the battleground state at a CNN town hall with undecided voters.
This election is a choice between whether we will have 4 more years of incompetence, failure, and disaster, or whether we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
Meanwhile, the former president campaigned in the swing state of Georgia. He delivered a primetime speech to a Turning Point Action rally and held a faith-focused town hall alongside the Peach State's Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones.
And by the way, record numbers of votes are coming in.
The Trump campaign says Kelly's claims are untrue, sharing in a statement, Kamala Harris is a stone-cold loser who is increasingly desperate because she is flailing and her campaign is in shambles. That is why she continues to peddle outright lies and falsehoods. Kash Patel, the former chief of staff at the Department of Defense under Trump, rushed to his old boss's defense.
He ended the forever wars. He crushed the narco traffickers. He brought home hostages. He ended child sex trafficking.
Millions of ballots have already been cast ahead of Election Day, with early voting underway in more than 30 states. It started Monday in Connecticut in the tri-state area. It kicks off in New York and New Jersey this Saturday, October 26th, lasting through Sunday, November 3rd. Dan and Tashani, back to you.
All right, here we go. Thank you very much, Briella.